Welcome everybody at 7 o'clock. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Debbie, would you take roll, please?
Karen Wiederstein. Here. Kendra Baldridge. Here. Ryan Estrom.
Here.
Paul Dwyer.
Here.
Matt Brewer.
Here.
All right, we have a quorum. Thank you. Would you please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge of
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, item number 4, approval of the agenda. Matt, do we have any changes?
No changes. No executive session
No
tonight.
executive session. Okay, I entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
I have a motion by Matt, a second by Kendra. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. All right, moving on to item 5, the consent agenda. Any discussion? No? Entertain a motion?
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion by Matt, second by Karen. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, item 6, communications. Do we have any Kechi civic groups or committees here tonight?
We do not.
Okay. Moving on to 6B. Do we have any Kechi good news anybody would like to share?
Not from staff.
All right.
Well, things are just, we're still working on, our water, line,
Sorry.
for the lead and copper, so we're still working really hard on that, that's going along. We're not gonna have to send out another set of surveys, so that's good news, and our hours are still being very well received, we've actually been having more people come in after 5, so not as many wanna come in at 7:30 in the morning, but.
That's good to hear. All right, item 6C. Do we have any public comment tonight? No? Okay. All right, item 7. Don't think we have any old business.
No old business.
Okay. Item 8, new business. Item A, Kechi financial plan proposal. Matt?
Thank you, Mr. President and Council. Does everybody have a copy of the financial plan with you tonight? Okay.
Oh, I don't have like the physical copy. I don't
Okay.
need it though.
I don't have a physical copy. I'll just give you a physical copy in case you have any questions. So. You good? I am. Karen, you good?
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Council, as the agenda item says, currently Kechi does not, nor have we ever had a financial plan. And a financial plan, of course, is imperative to kind of foresee things down the road, things that come up, financial planning, assisting with our budget, and other financial conditions. We paired with, went through several resources and was directed towards Wichita State, the Department of Public Finance. Met with David Gow, who is the dean of that, came up with a scope of services, kind of told him what I was looking for, bounced some things off one another. He gave me some ideas. We worked together to develop the scope of this work. And as you can see, the very first page, it's labeled page 2. The scope of work includes such things as the socioeconomic and organizational factors. That includes current population patterns, economic base, our major employers and industries, recent unemployment rates, our tax base, which would include our mill levy, debt to ratio type things, revenue forecasting, things such as explaining the different forms of revenue that the city uses that come into the city, legal authorizations for those, and some restrictions that we have on those, also what we can and can't use those for. Also historical trends of revenue and expenditures and revenue projections. Also assessing our financial condition, which would be just identifying the current financial situation of the city, our cash flow or cash solvency, revenue and expenditures, operating positions and debt structure, service solvency, and identifying peer municipalities to conduct comparisons to, so kind of how we compare with other cities as well. And then the last part of that is the visualization part. That is very important to me, and that's kind of what started this whole process, is we can bring you as a council all the numbers in the world, but unless you understand those, they really do us no good. So one of the major parts of this is creating visual models that you as the council can see, that the public can see, public-facing documents so the public can log on to our website, they can see all the same information we're seeing as far as forecasting the position of the city, and really just kind of a roadmap of where we need to go if certain things happen. This will be a very fluid document. We can change as the city changes, update the figures and forecasts, and it will just really act as a planning tool for us going forward. And I will entertain any other questions you may have.
Could you tell us what other municipalities are using this particular Hugo Walls school?
None that I know of.
Okay.
So this is their kind of first project, their pilot project. They're doing stuff with Sedgwick County right now, but not per se financial plan. But as you can see by their resumes, the people that are involved, they are highly, highly qualified to do this kind of stuff and have a deep history of working with municipalities to develop such plans.
So this being kind of new for them, is there some cost reduction in that because this is a kind of a pilot program?
That was figured into it, yeah. He said normally this would cost $20,000 to $25,000 to have something like this done, but as you can see, it came in about $18,000. So.
As things change and grow or recede, whichever, how would we have to go back to this particular vendor to have an update, or is this something that we can manage internally?
Yeah, we could. We will also have access to the data and the files that they have, so we can adjust those. But if we do need help or have questions, we would of course go back to them. I'm sure there would be a fee to do that. But like I said, it's a living document, and it will be adjusted and changed as our needs change as well.
Matt, I know we talked about some of the visualization and the visibility that this is going to give us.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen some of the examples of the deliverables they
Yeah, I
provide?
have, and I should have brought some from Sedgwick County. He did give me some examples, a lot of charts, pie charts, bar graphs, visuals like that make it very easy to understand municipal budgets. Yeah.
I think it's a great idea. I think I'm excited about having the information, and I think it will benefit us greatly. Appreciate your work on it.
I do. Thank you. Yeah. It'll really, like I said, just be a roadmap for the city. Increase our transparency, let people know where we are, what we're doing, what things look like as things change. So if they have questions, they can refer to these documents, the things we will have posted on the websites, and hopefully they will be very self-explanatory, so they can gather all that information
benefits is showing where we have needs, you know, not only today, but in 5 years, but, you know, going back to some of our sewer issues. And, so I think the fact that it will show that, expose that, lets the community know that, you know, we've got these expenses that are gonna be coming up in years to come, and then we have to address them now. And
Right.
so I commend you again on.
Right, I think an important component of this that will be nice to see is with those major projects that we have, if it does come to the point where we need to increase our mill levy a little bit to adjust for our growth or some of our service demands, even if we're going to increase that, it will help show us at what point we can start reducing
back.
that as well. Yeah.
So do we, go ahead.
Yeah.
Just out of curiosity, what work do you guys have to do to provide them the information they need?
Yeah, they're gonna do a meat of, the meat of the work. It'll be about a 12-week project. Unfortunately, a lot of it's gonna fall on Teresa for providing that financial information. They will use past documents that we have, financial reports and statements that we send to the state and the county. I'm confident we'll have to generate certain reports for them. So it will be, you know, work on both parts, but it's gonna be well worth it in the end. So,
Yeah.
but they will do a bulk of the work.
Okay.
So, our recommendation is on the second page, or if you have a front and back copy of your agenda packet there, our recommendation is on the bottom there.
There's no further discussion, and entertain a motion.
I move that we approve the Kechi financial plan proposal from KPFC in the amount of $18,416 and authorize the city administrator to proceed.
A second.
There's a motion by Karen, a second by Kendra. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0.
Council, the next item we have is the administrative clerk, a new position. As you know, we've been doing a lot of internal work on realigning positions, some restructuring, different things to make the city operations specifically more efficient. Through those discussions and talks, the resounding theme came up that we really need an extra person, especially in the front office, to assist specifically Debbie and Chris, who does all the utility billing, with the phone calls that come in, the people who are coming into City Hall. The biggest deficit that they see, that they explained, was being interrupted and not being able to stay on task, especially with utility billings, with Debbie's clerk duties, and really having somebody to answer those phones, to help people and answer questions when they come in, to direct people to the right person instead of interrupting them when they're on task, trying to get things done, would just enhance everything and allow them to be less interrupted and less burdened, allow them to stay on task a little bit. So that's what this is the creation of a administrative clerk in the front office. What we are asking for is that the city council authorize that as a full-time position to our staff. We know that under current budget constraints that we cannot fill that as a full-time position, so it would start as a part-time position. We would underfill that as a part-time position. As we go into next year's budget season, we would see where we're at, assess things. If we can move that to a full-time position, we may choose to do that if demand is there. If it's not, then we will continue through next year, depending on, you know, if we can fund that or not. So just because it is a full-time position in our organizational structure doesn't mean that it will be filled as a full-time position. But it allows us that flexibility as we grow, as demands change, as we're able to assure that that money is in the budget to move to a full-time position in the future.
So my question is, this is less than 30 hours a week as a part-time position.
Yes.
Do you envision this being Monday through Friday for 4 hours a day, or is this gonna be 3 days a week, or what do you envision this as far as helping them with the,
Yeah,
we think of the front desk and the booklet?
the exact schedule, I don't know yet.
Don't know.
Obviously, Monday through Friday, we don't know if it would be best filled in the mornings or afternoons, or maybe a combination of both, and I think a lot of that depends on the candidate that we find, especially if it's a part-time position, whether they can work during the days or afternoons, or, you know, what's best for them.
I'm just curious if you saw this as a Monday through Friday thing.
It will be Monday through Friday, yes.
Could we maybe tailor that need to when you guys get the most interruptions?
And that's what we would do, yeah,
I think it'd be the most effective that way.
right. And I don't know what time of day they receive the most phone calls, or have the most walk-ins, but that would be a decision and input that they would make, yeah. Kendra, I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said.
I'm sure that the times vary, like.
Yeah,
it
I'm
could
sure they
be
do.
all over
Yeah.
the place.
Yeah.
It's usually when the other person steps out.
Yeah.
Of course.
Or when the phone rings, somebody walks in, right?
Mhm.
I would also note before you call a motion there, on your bench, you have a spreadsheet there that has a highlighted line on it. This was provided by Teresa of where the funding would come out of our current budget for that position. As you can see, the highlighted areas, part-time clerk. Filling that a full year would cost us roughly $21,000 in salary. There would be no benefits attached to that. Realistically, that position probably won't be filled till June, so we're only talking about 6 months out of this year's budget, so we'd be down around $10,000 or $11,000 out of this year's budget. So the 21 is in our budget now, in contingencies, and it would be taken out of split between general fund, gas, water, sewer, and trash, because that position would touch all of those.
Is there any further questions? Discussion? Okay, I'd entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the creation of a full-time administrative customer service clerk position and authorize the city administrator to develop a job description and recruit a qualified candidate to fill the position.
I'll second it. Okay, we have a motion by Matt, second by Paul. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion is approved 5-0. Matt,
Thank you.
item
Yeah.
C.
Council, next item on the agenda is for discussion purposes only. It's about the Neighborhood Revitalization Program, often referred to as the NRP. It's my understanding that this was brought to council last year, maybe in July. It was discussed a little bit. I believe Andrew was in on those discussions. But really, the purpose of this is just to get the council's input, help you better understand what the Neighborhood Revitalization Program is, how it would benefit our city, some of the things that we would have to do as staff and as a council if we decided to move forward on this. And really, the purpose of this is to stimulate development and progress in certain parts of our city. And Andrew can jump in here. We'll kind of tag team this a little bit, but you know, the things that you can do with this NRP are really up to the council. The portions of town, you could designate the entire city. You could designate a couple blocks. You could designate whatever you want. The amount of taxes rebated is 100% up to you, whether it's just city tax, whether it's city and county tax, whether it's city, county, school district tax. if there are other entities that would be involved, we would have to have interlocal agreements with them, and they would have to sign off on that as well. So that's something that would be, need to be taken into consideration as well. But neighborhood revitalizations historically have been used for many different things. A lot of times you will hear they're used for blighted areas of town in larger cities to stimulate or encourage people to clean up their properties. There provides an incentive for them to clean up those properties and make improvements to them to kind of enhance those areas. We could use it for that. We can use it for underfilled areas that we want to develop. We can use it for economic growth. My vision would be specifically for the arts and business district to get some movement in that area, encourage people to come up here, make it affordable for them to come up here. And the other side of this is we need to be competitive with other cities in our region as well. So other cities are doing this. There's some examples in your packet of other cities in the region that are doing it. In addition to there, and Andrew, I don't know if you know, but I believe Valley Center does it.
I'm sure there are plenty, we just
Yeah,
picked a couple
Parks-
of locals,
yeah,
but
Park
yeah, there are
City.
a lot.
So, we don't currently have it, and when we have developers or business people coming up here looking at Kechi, we need to be on level playing ground with other cities to attract them up here as well. So, Andrew?
So in essence, an NRP, a neighborhood revitalization plan, is a tax rebate program. The way it works is, as Matt pointed out, the city designates areas within its limits that it deems could use to benefit from revitalization. And that's in the name. And so you determine what areas you want to focus on. As Matt mentioned, it could be areas that are blighted, it could be areas that are underutilized, maybe areas that need infill that are currently underutilized within the city. But you designate what areas the NRP covers. The only limitation is it has to be specific areas. We can't put the whole city in an NRP, but less than that, it's totally within the city's council's discretion where that applies. And within those districts then, once you've established one, at its very base, if a person comes in and either owns or buys a property within the district, and then they improve it, and improving means they do something to it that would increase the value of it from a tax basis, then that increment, that improvement, would be eligible for that person to come back to the city in their property taxes and ask for a rebate. So it's not an abatement in the way that we see with, IRBs that we're doing for industrial, commercial type things, where it's really taken off the tax rolls for a period of time, and they never get a bill unless we have a pilot in place. They pay their taxes every year, but then if they qualify under whatever policy you set, they make an application every year to the city, and if they've met those application requirements, that increment is rebated back to them. The important part of that is nothing is ever, the taxes are never really lowered. The tax value anyway is never really lowered, because you always start from whatever the tax value was at the time that the program was started, or when that person bought the property or started making improvements. So nothing's ever taken off the tax rolls, but it provides a rebate of improvements they might make for a certain period of time. We have to put limits. One of the things we're required to do is we have to put a limit on not just the length of time for any individual rebate, but a length of time for the program. Usually you see that somewhere in the 5 to 10 year range. It's in the plan that you would do. So it is required that then the council take a look at that plan, whatever that increment is that you decide, or that period is that you decide. You would have to come up at those increments, and then you'd have to reanalyze it, decide whether you want to make changes, and pass it again. As Matt mentioned, if only the city passes an NRP, it would only apply to the city's tax levy. It's very common, however, that cities and counties and school districts will enter into interlocal cooperation agreements and all approve the same plan, so that they're all cooperating, and the entire entirety of all those, tax levies would be included within the rebate availability in that plan. Within that framework, then there's a whole host of policy decisions that the council can make in crafting those kinds of plans. Are we focusing on residential development? Are we focusing on commercial or industrial development? Do you not wanna give all the rebate, but you wanna give half a rebate, or you'll give 20% for this kind of use, 50% for this kind of use, 75 for this kind of use, or, you know, I mean, there's so many different ways that you can really craft that, it's very, very customizable. And then, again, you can focus on the areas, if you want it to be here, focused on the arts and business district, you can define that this is the area where it applies to try to incent people to come in and do something, in that specific place. I'm trying to think of anything else. Any questions about how that would all work?
So how does the collaboration work with the states? So we decide, we pick out the arts and business district.
Uh-huh.
Do this work. How does the collaboration, communication, how does that all work? Not with the state, but with the county
With the county and school district?
and school district.
You go to them, we
Okay.
go to their staff, which ultimately goes to their governing bodies, and say, the city of Kechi is looking at implementing this neighborhood revitalization plan within its boundaries. Will you agree to cooperate with that? And then the staff would work together to put together an interlocal cooperation agreement and have the governing bodies of each one of those, the school board and the county commission, to adopt that same plan and sign the cooperation agreement. And in that case, we do have to send that all up to the state of Kansas for approval.
Right. So in your experience, is that driven usually by the city?
It's,
And
It
who's
can be-
Who's
I-
usually the driving factor behind
I
that?
wouldn't say there's a usual.
Okay,
It can come from any of them.
it
I
can
mean,
come from the county.
As you noticed, I think one of the examples that was in here was Sumner Counties,
Yeah.
which then gets the participation of many of the school districts and
Right.
cities within their boundaries. That was driven by Sumner County, but there are other places where the city is driving it for their own specific areas. So it's kind of all over the place.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think maybe to answer your question, Matt, it would be the, kind of the host agency.
Yeah.
So we would drive ours. If Sumner County drove theirs, it's
okay.
whoever is wanting to start the program, correct?
So do you see, since we're USD 259, we don't have our own school district in Kechi.
Right.
Do you see that as any type of a roadblock?
I don't know.
Yeah.
We would not, I don't know the answer to whether USC 259 participates in any of these, and that's not, and I don't mean to say I don't know, because I don't, I really
Yeah.
just don't know. They very well could, but it would not be uncommon for the staffs to contact each other and figure out how to proceed.
So is that something we find out now or after creating, like if we decide to do this?
So, I think the staff can reach out to each other and talk about, we're looking at doing something, is that something that you have, or that the district or the county has participated with other cities in the past, is that something you're open to? On a parallel track with putting together a draft of a plan that then, you know, the council can take a look at and give direction on their policy preferences as well.
You guys, I know there's a lot of variables with this question, but do you guys have any data of the utilization of communities that have implemented these?
I don't know that I have data, I have, except for my anecdotal experience, and it does get used. Does get used. So, again, anecdotally, what I generally see is the NRP, once it's established, I mean, there's an administration of getting it all established, as we just talked about. Once it's established, it's very smooth for the property owners, because it doesn't require application to the council for every rebate. Once you've established a program, if someone buys property within the district and otherwise meets the application and qualifications in the plan, they simply submit it to the city clerk or the city staff, and if it checks all the boxes, they send it off to the county and it gets the rebate done. So from a property owner's perspective, it's easier to deal with than, for example, an industrial revenue bond, which is a much more complicated and expensive endeavor. The flip side of that is the tax abatement of an IRB is more valuable because it's, it's a true abatement, it's for 10 years, it's usually comes out to a bigger dollar amount, and there's also the sales tax incentive that goes along with that. So it's sort of a trade-off decision for them that I see. So the bigger projects generally go to the IRB side, but then like a community who might be targeting some infill residential, the NRPs are really good program for that because that's easy for a homeowner if it's already established to say, well, I'm going to build a new house on this empty lot that's been sitting empty for 10 years and I know I can get a partial tax rebate for doing it. And all I have to do is submit the information to the clerk. Does that answer your question? Yeah.
So you don't need any action from us, it's just initiating the conversation?
This is just discussion to give staff guidance on what direction the council wants to go. Is it something you're interested in and you want us to proceed in talking to, our neighboring agencies, our Central County, the school district, seeing if that's something they participate in, drafting some of these documents to get us started in the process?
My opinion is let's have the conversation.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're not committed to anything, let's have the conversation.
Yeah, and because there is so much involved in it, we would hate to move forward and do all of this if it wasn't the council's
Right.
direction to move forward, so.
So since there's so many variables, how would we even go about planning? Like, would you make a draft and we make changes, or?
That's generally what I would recommend is,
Yeah.
we've done, our office has done many of these.
Okay.
Knowing what we and the staff know about the council's current preferences, we throw together a first draft, and then, it may be even worth having a workshop where we can just have a free-flowing conversation, walking through it, going, what do you think about this, what do you think about that, and you guys can tell us, well, we'd rather focus on this, or we'd rather address that, and we can just craft it from there.
And I think consistency, Andrew, correct me if I'm wrong, consistency with other cities in our areas would be important too. We probably wouldn't do anything that's way left of them or way right of them.
I think that's right. I think if you do that, you're more likely to get participation from the county and the school district. And also, if you're looking at it just from a sort of competitive standpoint, you wouldn't want to be a complete outlier.
Another question. So when you say it could be anywhere in the city, could that be like two separate areas that aren't connected?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. You can designate various areas, correct.
Like we could focus on residential, or we could focus on business, or we could focus on both.
Or all of them,
Yeah.
right. You could have the arts and business district, and then you could have this area of town that needs some infill residential, and this area of
Yeah.
town that, for whatever other reason.
Like an older part of town that we wanna see,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, that, the only thing I will point out, because sometimes it becomes an issue, is, whatever our policy reasons are for picking those areas,
Yeah,
when we get down to adopting a plan, you do have to make a finding that the area is underutilized, deteriorated, and blighted is the word that's used in the statute in order to qualify. Now, that determination is totally up to the council, but you do have to make that determination. So oftentimes, the council members who might say, well, this area it maybe needs some work, but I'm not sure it's quite blighted,
Right.
There sometimes can be stigma associated with it.
Right.
So we just want to think about that.
Do we think the staff has bandwidth to take on, it sounds like there's a little bit of a lift and some work that would be required of our staff
Yeah.
to not only establish it, but to manage it.
Yeah, and really it would fall on Andrew and I.
oh, that's not a problem.
Well, it would on the initial crafting, but there will be administrative maintaining, if you pass one, maintaining it. So there will be reviewing of applications and submitting to, the county. Even if the county school district don't participate, it has to go to the county because they're the one that administers the tax programs and all that. So there is definitely some staff time associated with it ongoing.
And just to clarify, this is available even on virgin ground, farm ground to a development.
Yeah. You make the correct findings, yeah.
I think it's worth investigating.
Yeah, and other than staff and administrative time, it really is no cost to the city. It's benefits, it's in the long run if people take advantage of it, and it stimulates that growth.
Any other questions?
Okay, so we will move forward.
Yes.
Okay, very good. And Mr. President, I believe that is all that's on the agenda for tonight. We do not have staff reports. Those are the second meeting of each month.
Okay. Do we have any council reports?
So what we need to do, rather than adjourn this meeting, is we need to recess it, because we will have a special meeting prior to
PDC
the next,
workshop.
yes, the workshop with PEC,
Workshop,
prior to the meeting next, in 2 weeks, yeah, 25th, yeah.
Mhm.
Is everybody good for
At
That-
6 or?
Yes, at 6, yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay.
When's that? April 25th.
Yeah, in 2 weeks. And that will be PEC's